Alright, gonna go ahead and get started here. So to start things off, we're gonna kind of just start with the industrial side of things so that we can get the easy stuff out of the way, and then follow up with some more um, updates, changes of plan, um, changes of this, that, and the other thing, and basically um, after this, everybody should be on the same page, theoretically. So with that, Hale, I'm going to go ahead and start with you on freighters.
Sure thing. So, nothing new to report, kind of business as usual on this end. Since we've last, I think, discussed jump freighter production, we have put two in build, even for just a couple moments at once, which is a pretty big win for us, considering we haven't increased any of our base production of the simple material we need that makes this whole program possible. Um, but yeah, it's trucking along. There's nothing super new to report. But on the industrial side, I know for those that were there was a meeting about additional towers. I'm in the process of completing a short PowerPoint presentation on how to run those towers, and that should be used for when we finally kind of get moving on that sort of note. But aside from that, business as usual, building arcs, making billions and billions of ISK. Does anyone have any questions about that? Cool.
Mm-hmm. So on the moon side of things, we are still coming out with a policy document on that, mainly to deal with low sec, or not low sec, but wormhole. Because the idea is to increase the foothold in the wormhole by putting up a whole bunch of towers, thus making it a royal pain in the ass for anybody to ever want to kick us out of there. And those towers, set up two of them, can make a sizable amount of money, just in reacted material, specifically carbides. If you guys are interested in potentially running a tower, we'll talk about it after the meeting. But one of the rules is going to be if you anchor a tower in the wormhole, the Alliance gets 100 million ISK per month per tower in there. Mainly because you're going to make more than enough to do that, and it's going to grow some Alliance income. We will look at some low sec moons, and we are currently surveying moons in the low sec area near Ryaved, seeing if maybe people have missed something, or if there's very tiny corps that happen to own something that they need taken away from them. So we'll kind of play that by ear based on what we find, and then we'll come up with a fair way to deal with those. Let's see. Aside from that, the really kind of large change towards the long-term plan in the Ryavet area, the XL project is going to change. Initially, we had thought putting up a Sodio was going to be an option, and back when we thought that, the rig price was about 15 to 17 billion ISK a piece. That price has since doubled. It's now about 35 billion ISK a piece for the rigs, plus a 25 billion ISK hull. So we're going to drop back to the older plan, which was, I believe it's 4 Asbels. And that will give us like 20 or 30 billion ISK of savings, just with a higher operating cost. But beyond that, if people do not want to donate towards that, and you have put in your donations already, we have tracked them. If you want to take your money back, that's perfectly fine. Or if you just want to keep it in there towards that changed project, then that's more than welcome as well. Um, just letting you guys know on the update there, it basically was turning into something that we couldn't make happen. Um, Moving forward from that, the regular Alliance fleets, I think it's Wednesday morning, Friday morning, eve time fleets are going to continue to be incursion fleets. The Saturday fleet, um, we're going to try and start taking a little bit more seriously as we've missed it for the last several weeks now. And we are going to try and do incursions during that time frame as well. Get people involved, get people making money. Um, one of the um, one of the things we're looking for on that front is that we need potentially one or two more boosters. Um, we're going to need a few more logistics pilots. Nesters are kind of the way that I think we're going to drift towards, as they're actually a lower skill point requirement, but they do cost a little bit more as a ship. Additionally, continue to train for Guardians and Oneroses because those are going to be PvP oriented ships. And of course, if we can get somebody in the European time zone that is willing to run fleets, more power to you. We need more FCs because I've committed to the 3 days a week being here for those, but I have no issue with people running fleets outside of that. I might even jump in on them, but outside of that, I'm not going to plan anything official outside of those ops because I too have some other stuff that I have to deal with. And this kind of rolls into some other fleets that we have as well: mining fleets, PvP fleets, and wormhole fleets. Anybody who wants to can run fleets out of those areas. Anybody that wants to just spontaneously put up a mining fleet, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. The Alliance will buy the ore for the buyback price. We've released a spreadsheet that automatically parses the fleet loot log, so it pays everybody fairly based on that. And you can give that to us, and we'll distribute ISK from there if you want, or you can distribute ISK and we pay it all to one person. I don't really care either way. Let's see. Aside from that, PvP fleets, you guys are more than welcome to continue using Spectre Fleet, or you can organize your own fleets if you want. Right now, I'm not going to be taking any out, at least for the next probably week or two, until I get a firm idea of what my schedule is. And then I might start doing a couple PvP fleets with Spectre Fleet, just so that we can get a few more numbers. And of course, like the wormhole, getting in there, we can run the anomalies in there, the PvP or PvE anomalies in there. There's PvP options on a regular basis. You can continue to roll the C4 until you get a hole that's empty, and bring the fleet of dummies into there and remote rep our way to victory on that front, and make, I think it's 100 million ISK per site or something like that in there.
Yep.
So I mean, it's really good money. Um, when we have resources to do that. And all of these things are kind of aiming towards an end goal. Getting people involved in fleets is one thing, but what it teaches people is another. Like incursions, there's a reason that we're trying to grow the incursion fleet from vanguards to assaults, and then we'll try and grow from assaults to HQs. And once we can run HQs, then we can field a fleet that is capable of defending Sovnal. And our goals are to continue that push. 2 weeks ago, and I wish I had released this sooner, but I didn't. And the reason I sent out the email when I did was because, well, we had a director meeting at the time, and we had discussed it, but we did not really have didn't have the available option of running one of these meetings at the time. Currently looking for the chart that I had linked, so I need just a second here.
The push to null.
Yes, found it. All right. So on the chart that was sent out, there's a link in the email. There's 3 different plans for what's really needed when we go to null. And this will kind of help everybody get the idea of what we're building to. Like there's the blue is probably what will likely happen. Green is what we would prefer to happen, and red would be if some sort of angel investor came out of nowhere and donated half of it. So roughly what's going to be needed is we're going to need at least 1 Fortizar, a couple of Astraeuses, a few either Reatrus or Asbels. Additionally, we're going to have some super cap needs. We may build those when we get out there, or we may buy them after we get out there. But one of the things that I would personally like to have happen is that we acquire a Titan prior to moving. It's a large step, but logistics-wise, it makes everybody's life a lot easier. Aside from this, there are some other kind of things that we need to start looking at training into. Carriers, dreads, and faxes are going to be a huge push. You don't need to start training for them right now. As I see it, I think we still have a decent amount of time, at bare minimum until the end of the Alliance tournament this year. We're working on some political things for this year's tournament that could lead us to potentially being given Sov without rent. And that to me is the goal. But once we get out there, we're going to want carriers for ratting, we're going to want carriers for PvP, we're going to want dreads for PvP mostly. I don't think nobody's going to use a dread for PvE, because if you spend 5 minutes in a site in a dread, you're probably going to die.
Get a visit from PL.
Yeah. Additionally, faxes are force auxiliaries. We're going to need people to train into those. There's a reason that one of the primary reasons that we're looking at incursions as a metric for growing the alliance is a lot of times people will train logistics 5, which is the skill that unlocks triage. Once you gain that, then you can start flying force auxiliaries. Force auxiliaries being the capital version of a logistics ship. They're currently in a state that they're very difficult to kill, but that's kind of what they're designed to be. They don't do much DPS or any DPS that I know of, but they are very, very good at the single task that they're given. And additionally, we are looking at getting more people into jump freighters. Jump freighters are kind of the lifeline when it comes to logistics, and not in terms of repairing logistics, in terms of actual, like, physical, we need to move stuff from A to B. We're going to have needs that, for instance, we're going to need to move stuff from G to an Amar to wherever we move to, and having people available that have the jump freighters that can go in and out of the trade hubs that can bring it out there is going to be vital. So just in that alone, I know me personally, I have about a 15 billion-esque swing that I need to make happen. And the only way that's going to happen is incursions, for me at least. So continuing to grow on that front is going to give us a lot of money for personal wallets. That's later going to be used for bigger and better ships down the road when we do move to null. The last thing is kind of the force projection, kind of what we need to be able to fleet up as. I have it down that we need, doctrine-wise, we need about 50 DPS ships, about 10 E-War, and 10 Logi at about the same time. That would be ideal. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting here going, that's a lot of people. Generally, PvP, you do fly one ship. It's not very often that you multi-box, because multi-boxing leads to death in PvP. This is kind of a bigger goal, and this is going to require significant effort from not just the directors. So this is an opportunity for everyone else in the room. Recruitment is huge. Bringing people in, bring them into that LINKK initiative channel that we've been using for recruiting. Doesn't really matter which corp they go into. What matters is they get into the alliance and that we grow the alliance. Once we start meeting these goals, then we can start really seriously looking at, packing up and starting the move. The other aspect to this is we do need to increase kind of the PvP side of things. And the best way to do this is nice, it's fun, join a Spectre fleet, go get some kills. It'll make the kill board look great, and we can make the alliance a little bit less snuggly in terms of Z-kill.
I also believe that Elon said he's gonna do some alliance only fleet roams.
Yes.
Yeah, doing more fleet roams as the alliance would be great as well. I can actually form up some of those.
Mm-hmm. So the more the better. I'm, basically, this is me saying it. If you want to be an FC, just start putting fleets together. And if you want it to show in the Alliance MOTD, talk to pretty much any of the directors, have some access to that. As far as I'm concerned, a reminder, any of the fleets that are in Alliance MOTD are fair game for everybody to join. There's no restriction other than, like for incursions, we ask that at minimum you bring one of the cruisers that we have designed for alphas, or one of the ships that we've designed. It doesn't have to be, like for instance, it doesn't have to be like my, 2.5 billion-esque Vindicator. You can bring, you can buy a brand new T2 fit Vindicator for about 550 million-esque.
As
It'll
long as they
do
got 70 across
90%
the
of the
board.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 across the board and a plate.
Yep. 70% resist Omni tank and a plate will get you into fleet. Cruisers, there's an exception there because if you fly the fit that's given, it'll be good enough. It'll actually be more than enough tank than you actually need. But yeah. Outside of that, I don't really have much else. Just want to pull up my document here to make sure I didn't skip over anything.
Got something over here, Frost.
Yes. So Startide, I'm gonna let you guys announce your changes and everything here.
Okay. Let's see if Morgan can get earphones on for a second. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, just short form here, guys. Um, I need to really take a vacation. I need to back off a little bit because I have, for whatever reason, good or bad, just gotten burned out, and that's dangerous because historically, when I get burned out, I just sort of fade away to nothing, and I didn't want that to happen to the alliance, to the corporation, or to me because Eve and you guys have been actually important lifelines with respect to a lot of things that have been happening at work over the last 2 years, actually. So, what has happened this morning was that Morgan Garst has taken over Startide Industries. Um, I'm going to be remaining on quote unquote as special uh, assistant to the president, which means I am now Eve's version of Steve Bannon. And whatever side of the aisle you're on, if that doesn't scare you, nothing will. Um, and I'm simply looking forward, honestly looking very forward to Frank's continuing participation in the incursion fleets, moving into Logi, so that when an incursion fleet is called for, we now have 9 Logi ships and 1 DPS. And Alan is looking very forward to getting some deep exploration where he's out of re-ed for several weeks at a time, even going into wormholes. So I'm looking very forward to that. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm stepping back a little bit from the administration. But I'll be available for consultation, etc., at a reasonable fee. That's it from me.
All right. Is there any other news? Anything that we didn't cover? If anybody wants to start building PI in the wormhole, Alliance will buy it. So feel free to set up shop in there. We have all of the customs offices and enough planets to make robotics and enriched uranium and all the stuff necessary for fuel blocks, minus the ice, of course, of which we have here in Riotbed.
And we update the high sec more or less daily in the channel.
Mm-hmm. And then additionally, we can kind of coordinate if there's an ore anomaly. We can start rolling holes and do mining in the wormhole as well. That's an option for anybody that wishes to do that. Just make sure to communicate when that's happening, so that, for instance, we don't have a group of people running in the C4 and somebody decides that they want to roll the holes and traps the group in the C4, because that would
That would be
not be cool.
rude.
Well, people in a wormhole should be using Pathfinder.
Yes, use Pathfinder. Be in the channel for wormholes. We have the in-game channel for coordination. Be on comms is generally a good idea. And I know there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily like talking on comms. Even if you have everything muted, it's a solid way for people to get a hold of you if something's about to happen. For instance, if you're in the wormhole and we've got a scout in or next to one of the holes, it's a great way for them to go, hey, listen up, something's coming in. We've got a fleet coming through or something like that. And that is only going to benefit us down the road in the push for null, because when we get out there, it's generally speaking a good idea to be on comms, or at least available very rapidly to be on comms.
speaking of Null, for any new bros listening to the recording or any of you guys here in the channel, StarTide at the very least is going to be setting up like a nullsec campus in NPC Null in Curse, probably. So anyone in the Alliance is welcome to come out there. We'll do PvP, PvE, mining, just the general nullsec experience. So you're all welcome up out there.
And anybody with questions, comments, concerns, alibis?
A quick question. So basically, are we not building the extra large rigs anymore, or?
We are going to be building instead the large ones, which will be relatively easier, and we'll start seeing Asbels pop up, fully built Asbels pop up relatively quickly, instead of the XL.
And so that still needs salvage and stuff, though, right?
Yes. And that's actually another thing, dropping back to incursions. If anybody wants to bring an alt and do salvage behind the fleet as we run them, it's real easy. Probably the best ship for it, even if you're in, I would say even if you're in a Noctis, the best ship for it is an Algos, fit with drone navigation computers and salvage drones.
Probably do a
if-
mix of both.
Or
If you're an
you could
alpha
do
of a
both,
different race, any of the destroyers is pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They have enough high slots.
And the other night, just to give you guys a reference on the kind of ISK you can make in, what was it, a 2.5 hour, 3 hour op?
Yeah, I think we ran for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we ran 23 sites last night for a total of about 230
212.
million ISK per person, or 212 million ISK per person after taxes, and that's one night. One night, one tune, lots of money. So, the more people, the merrier. And then, of course, down the road, keep investing in the ships, and it'll just run faster and faster, and we'll keep making that money. But per week, if you show up to all 3 ops as planned, theoretically, we should make about 1 billion ISK a week just off of incursions. So that content is available, is an option, and is something that you're all welcome to participate in, regardless of alpha skills or anything else. And again, anybody interested in being an FC in the European time zone and running fleets, you're more than welcome to do that. Additionally, for those that really enjoy incursions beyond that of the standard, you can always join a public incursion fleet at any point of the day. Valhalla Project, a lot of them run shields for public. I think Titanium Fleet runs armor still. I prefer them in the EU time zone because they have a little bit nicer, less drama-filled FCs. At that time, their US time zones can be a little drama-packed. But there's plenty of money to be made out there. As I said earlier, there's a lot of things that we're going to be building towards as far as needs on a personal or individual basis. Specifically, the carriers, the dreadnoughts, the jump freighters. If you want to be highly successful in Null, get those 3 things. And if you own those 3 things, that's 7 billion, 3 billion, and 2.5 billion. So right there, you got plenty of stuff to save up for, plenty of goals to aim for, and plenty of options moving forward for what we would like to do. Now, in terms of ideas for being able to help the Alliance, on an individual basis. I mentioned this earlier. Help with recruitment. Get them into that LINKK or LINKK recruit or LINKK initiative channel. We'll get them into A Corp, and from there we'll see what happens. Generally speaking, it's pretty easy to get people involved once they're in a corp, and then it's just a matter of getting them involved in content. Other ways to help, you guys might have noticed, there is a new citadel in the Rivet area. The Scarlet Bazaar is up in Rivet. It's a station I'm currently sitting outside of. It's a Fortizar class citadel, highly defensible, and it's also a market hub. So if you have stuff that you want to put up for sale, I believe there's actually a decent amount of stuff that's been selling through it. So that's the more the merrier when it comes to that. If you want to put up buy orders for ore and minerals and stuff like that, because you have a project that you're working on, feel free to do it through there. It's an open service for the Alliance, and hopefully, in time, the local area will start using it as a market hub, because we'll maintain a nice low tax rate for them to do that. But I would like to note, in terms of being able to help the Alliance, not only establishing that as a trade hub, but I would like to personally thank Kai, or Dreadraver here in comms.
Yep.
That project would not exist from start to finish without him. It is 100% donated from a single person. So I'd like, single-handedly, that is one of the largest projects that we've seen in the Alliance, and one guy pulled it off. So thank you, Kai.
You're welcome.
You're a fucking maniac, man.
Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to donate, 23 billion ISK, but I mean, if you really feel like it, the wallet's there. Long term, we are going to run a few. This probably won't start for a little while, but in order to get these Asbels up, we're going to start running incursion ops with a donation expected. So, for instance, we run X amount of sites, and we'll run and say, hey, please donate half of this. That way you still make a lot of money, but you also have the option of helping out on these projects as well. So that way it's not, I'm just going to drop in. For instance, Jarek and I dropped in 5 billion ISK apiece towards the XL builds. That's, I believe Jarek and I are both agreed that money's still going to go in towards the Asbels. We're not saying everybody needs to do that. This is going to be a way for people that don't have a massive wallet to be able to help.
Where do we need to send our donations?
You can, if you're in Sub-Zero, we've been using there's actually a wallet for, I think it's labeled XL. Basically, if you put it into the Sub-Zero master wallet, we'll make sure it gets to the right place. It's been nicely packed away in a side wallet that we haven't really had to use. Or we haven't used at all, I should say, as we're currently trying to basically get to the point where we can build those structures.
Can you link what the large rig things are called? Or spell it?
log in a character for this here.
If there's going to be 4 Aspels with 3 rigs on each Aspel, that's just way too many to link at one time, I'd expect.
Yeah,
No, I
it's
just
gonna
need
be
to have one. I want to see what the recipe, like how much salvage you need for each.
it is significantly lower than the XL,
I figured.
which is nice. Structure modification, engineering, large. For instance, this is one of them. Linked it in Alliance chat there. That's one of the rigs we'll need.
And that's the requirements. 12, pretty much 12,000 units of each T1 salvage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Frost, the next time you see me on, remind me that I need to give you some BPCs.
Okay. So let's see. Aside from that, I don't know if there's anything else that I have. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns, or anything?
Nope.
I have a question.
Nope.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We were talking about building a bridge to Nullsec last night. What's the timeline on that?
Probably looking late this year, maybe November, December. It'll be after the Alliance tournament for sure.
Okay.
As this isn't announced officially, but there will be a couple of tunes that are leaving the Alliance mechanic-wise in order to compete on a different team. And it'd be very difficult to. It's also kind of politically speaking a solid move so that we can build the connections necessary to make the move. So I see it as basically November is probably the earliest, but we are going to need to evaluate the goals as we move forward, and the push to null sheet that was released, or the little document grid, once you start seeing those check off, like we have X amount of ISK, or we have, the random amount of carriers, dreads, faxes, jump freighters, you start seeing decent sized PvP fleets go out. All of those things, then you'll start hearing a lot more about a more specific time frame. But we are playing kind of a long game here. Building an alliance from scratch is not an easy project. It's it's a long term thing. So I appreciate it. What?
In terms of capitals, guys, I just posted it in Alliance, but if you're not logged in, I'll say it here. If you guys want capitals to be built but don't have the skills to build them, I know that at least I and a few other people in the Alliance have the skills to build most caps, so just let someone know and we'll build it.
Yeah. Also, I have the Archon, the Thanatos, and the Apostle BPOs. So if you guys want copies for that, I can supply those.
Sweet.
Apostle.
I also have all the light fighters, BPOs too. So, and some BPOs of capital modules.
Awesome. So, basically,
So,
if you guys do choose to build capitals and need a place to stage them, it is important to note that we will be using Thalakala as a staging. However, it is not something that you want undocked in that area, as there are people that are significantly larger than us that use that as a staging for super capitals. So it's one of those, set your Sino onto station, jump in, dock. I'm not going to tell you can't use capitals. at your own leisure, but there is a hell of a lot of risk in using them. So please use them responsibly. And note that there is no current SRP option for capitals. And by SRP, I mean ship replacement plan. So if you lose it, good luck.
Yeah.
Now, I'd also recommend, because you can dock them in an NPC station, to get them insured. Because then it's not as much to replace. Do we have
You're
anything
about
else?
to say something, Frank?
Yeah, just Kai, just out of curiosity, is there a BPO that you don't own?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay.
I think my next project is getting all the heavy fighters, and the support fighters. I still need to get the Crimea and the Memitar carrier. I forget the Memitar carrier.
Some people
Nidhogger.
collect stamps, some people collect BPOs.
Yeah.
Additionally, so that you guys know this, for ratting purposes, the two best carriers in the game are actually the Nidhogger and the Thanatos. For PvP, the best carrier in the game is the Archon by a wide margin.
That was my next question.
So if you're looking at which one to train into, I would train into the Thanatos first, then backtrack and train into the Archon. Long term, and this is significantly long term, one of the doctrines that we're going to be looking at is going to be Archon supported by apostles. So it's a high input doctrine, but at the same time, generally speaking, they don't die. Unless you get dread bombed, then it's, it is what it is. But the benefit of those is you can brick tank them, and yeah. But we'll release the doctrine for that after we go to null, and people have a chance to make real good money once we're out there. Is there anything else? I always feel like I'm missing something, but
I don't have anything.
all right. Hearing nothing, I'm going to end the recording, and I'll start uploading it to YouTube here in a little bit.